Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 2 VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I wanted to showcase the team that won the Oceania International Championships in the Juniors division, which is the youngest age group. This team was piloted by Kiki, who is also the world's runner-up from 2022 in the Juniors division as well, and she is definitely one of the top Junior division players to watch out for throughout this season. So first of all, a huge congratulations to Kiki for winning OCIC, and thank you to her and her mom for sharing this team with me so I could showcase it as well. And I always get really excited featuring teams and players from other age categories, because when I started playing VGC, I was actually a Junior division player as well, and played through Juniors, played through Seniors, and of course aged up to Masters as well. And so yeah, Kiki also watches Road to Ranked. I'm very, very grateful for her viewership, so thank you so much and congratulations. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down in the description below. And thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like on the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's dive into things. So first of all, just some quick context on the tournament. This was the first major internationals in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It was held in Melbourne, Australia, and there were 16 players in the Juniors division, which is the youngest age category, generally age 10 and under. Kiki ended up winning the entire tournament, and you can see the top 4 teams from that event right down here. She actually had to defeat her one loss from the Swiss rounds, where she went 3-1 in order to advance to the finals, and of course ended up winning in the finals to claim the championship. And so I'll link these teams down in the description below if you want to take a look. And yeah, huge congratulations once again to Kiki, and a huge thank you to her for watching my content as well. Really, really grateful to be able to be a part of her VGC journey. So let's dive into the team. Diving into the team now, let's break down all of the different combinations that exist. Now, the first Pokemon to talk about on this team is Dondozo. Dondozo is a Pokemon that doesn't really need any introduction, but this Dondozo isn't like the jolly max speed, max attack variant. It's actually admin, and it also has some special defense investment. So with this speed investment, after you combine with Tatsugiri, you will outspeed max speed Arcanine and anything lower than that, but you are not going to be outspeeding Pokemon that are faster than that, so keep that in mind. The idea behind this Dondozo, of course, is to just kind of, get a bunch of order ups and deal massive amounts of damage with Wave Crash, substitute with Leftovers and Protect, really valuable in healing back, as well as kind of bypassing things like Intimidate and Spore. And so Steel Terra here exists, and you are synergizing it, of course, with the Tatsugiri. This Tatsugiri, pretty standard. The main thing to call out here is that it has the Sleep Talk, and so Sleep Talk means that even if a Mungus spores you, for example, you can still get some value out of Tatsugiri. So naturally, with Dondozo and Tatsugiri, you're often going to be conserving it for, the end game, especially with this team, because there's so much early offense. But of course, you could lead one of Tatsugiri or Dondozo and apply immediate pressure and kind of bait your opponent into thinking you might combine immediately. And sometimes it is fine to just fuse immediately if your opponent just has no answers to Dondozo. So yeah, kind of a classic duo here. You also have Roaring Moon with Dragon Dance. So Roaring Moon is a Pokemon that can deal massive amounts of damage, and it's further increased when you have Booster Energy, Flying Terra, and Dragon Dance as well. And so the idea is often you'll be in positions to just get a free Dragon Dance off with Roaring Moon, and afterwards, like +1 Acrobatics boosted by Booster Energy and the Flying Terra is just so powerful. Throat Chop also gives you good coverage into a lot of Pokemon in the format, including things like Gholdengo, for example, and Gothitelle as well. And so, yeah, Roaring Moon basically is a Pokemon that can snowball really quickly if you're able to get a Dragon Dance off. And to support it, you've got Tailwind, Talonflame here. This is Covert Cloak plus the Ghost Terra. So the idea is to set up that Tailwind, of course, deal some damage with Brave Bird, and you have utility between Will-O-Wisp and Taunt as well. And both of these utility moves are just really valuable, especially in the Juniors division, where a lot of, players are running like Trick Room-oriented strategies. And so you've got Taunt to stop Trick Room. You've also got Imprison, Trick Room, Flutter Mane. And that's one of the things, right? If you're kind of playing, especially in the Juniors division, like hard Trick Room, I feel like is a little bit more common because it is a little bit easier to teach younger players to use, right? It's like, okay, you set up Trick Room, maybe use like Final Gambit with Annihilate or Follow Me with something, bring in your Trick Room users and sweep. And so, Imprison, Trick Room, Flutter Mane is obviously a really nice counter into those hard Trick Room oriented teams. Flutter Mane here has Focus Sash, and it synergizes really nicely with Gholdengo. That's one lead that Kiki actually had in the finals, where she would just go with Flutter Mane and Gholdengo and just go like Dazzling Gleam to make it rain immediately. And that was a really strong combo into Annihilate plus Mouse Hold in particular. So yeah, the thing about this team is that it is a little bit more straightforward to execute, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's still like easy to use. It just means that you have a lot of like pure strength and you're not necessarily relying on a ton of setup, right? And so for example, possible leads include Talonflame Gholdengo, Talonflame Roaring Moon, Talonflame Flutter Mane, Flutter Mane Gholdengo, Flutter Mane Roaring Moon. Really all of those work. And then you can obviously like put in Dondozo and Tatsugiri with those leads as well, depending on your opponent's team. And of course, one of the key things to note when you're using Dondozo plus Tatsugiri is don't be necessarily afraid to split up the pieces, right? Choice Scarf Tatsugiri in itself can be valuable, especially with Icy Wind speed control. For example, Tatsugiri Gholdengo, you can just Icy Wind, Steel Terra, make it rain. That's one combo you can go for. If you pick up some quick knockouts with that early, then you bring out the Dondozo combine and then go from there. Keep in mind that Dondozo doesn't necessarily always need to go for the Terra, right? Like, if your opponent doesn't have that much to actually hit water type Pokemon, you can actually consider conserving that Steel Terra, because by going for Steel Terra, you then become weak to new types like ground and fighting, as well as fire, for example. So yeah. Anyway, those are just some quick notes on the team. Let's quickly highlight some weaknesses. So one of the first things I'd point out here is that the team does not have Protect on 4 of the 6 Pokemon in Talonflame, Tatsugiri, Gholdengo, and Fluttermane. Now, that inherently isn't a weakness, but if you are going up against this team, you can obviously use that to your advantage, saying, okay, I know your Gholdengo or Fluttermane don't have Protect. I can very safely double up into those slots and beat them fairly quickly. Another thing about Fluttermane here is that Imprison plus Trick Room is obviously really good into opposing Trick Room setups, but if you are using Trick Room and you're going up against this team and you know that they have Imprison plus Trick Room, right, you can just like attack the Fluttermane instead of clicking Trick Room on turn 1. And since Fluttermane is so frail, often if you actually know about Imprison plus Trick Room, you can just knock out Fluttermane with like a double up, thus then getting rid of Imprison immediately as well, right? So even though this is a really good answer into Trick Room, it doesn't necessarily just always win, especially if your opponents anticipate it. The Gholdengo here also doesn't have a defensive Terra, so obviously fire type attacks in particular are really scary, especially like the max attack Arcanines that exist out there. Now, the Gholdengo still does have some HP investment, right? But that being said, yeah, like the fact it can't protect nor defensively Terra means that it is left a little bit more exposed. Another thing to note here is that Dondozo here only has 2 offensive attacks between Order Up and Wave Crash, and so you can expose that a little bit since it doesn't have Earthquake, and Earthquake is often what can, you know, really deal a lot of damage, but there are some Pokemon that can wall the combination of Order Up and Wave Crash, and like Gastrodon in Team Preview alone scares me a lot because it means that I can't really click Wave Crash with confidence. I'm kind of stuck just relying on Order Up, and that can be a little bit scary. And obviously with Dondozo, there are multiple other answers into it, whether it be Haze, for example, or Clear Smog. The Steel Terra here helps against Clear Smog, actually, but with Steel Terra, you do become weak to new typings, and so you want to keep that in mind, as I mentioned earlier. I think, in addition, like Iron Hands can be a little bit scary against this Pokemon, especially if you haven't gotten Tatsugiri out yet, because like you can deal super effective damage with Wild Charge, but you can also close combat if the Terra goes into Steel, for example, so just be careful about the damage output coming from the opposing side. And obviously, Rory Moon really doesn't love going up against Fairy-type attacks or Dragon-type attacks or fighting. Fairy in particular is pretty scary, and Flying Terra obviously leaves you open to new weaknesses as well, and so you'll just want to keep that in mind. But yeah, overall, you know, the team I think is just very strong, has a lot of fundamental Pokemon that have a lot of pure like offense. And so yeah, that's it for the breakdown. Let's go into the battles. Okay, we've got Palafin, Iron Hands, Grimmsnarl, Fluttermane, the King Gambit, and Pelipper. So I think Gholdengo with Choice Specs Thunderbolt is really strong here. We could bring Talonflame. That would allow me to Will-O-Wisp a bunch of things. Although obviously I have to worry about like Jet Punch. Dondozo Tatsu is okay here. Like Wave Crash in the rain is super strong, but I have to worry about like Haze from the Palafin, for example. But I think it could still be worth bringing. Gholdengo. Roaring Moon is pretty interesting. I think, like, we could go with the Dondozo route, or we could just go with, like, Talonflame, Gholdengo, Roaring Moon, and Fluttermane. I do think this core is pretty weak to King Gambit if I commit to it. So for that reason, I do want to bring Dondozo and Tatsu. Honestly, I'm down for a Roaring Moon plus Gholdengo lead, Dondozo plus Tatsu in the back. I could also even go Gholdengo plus Tatsu, huh? But let's try this out. I think the thing with Talonflame is the worry about Jet Punch. Like, trading Talonflame Tailwind for a Jet Punch isn't necessarily amazing for me here. With Roaring Moon and Gholdengo, I'm, like, not that worried about the early game Palafin. And Roaring Moon puts on a lot of offensive pressure as this Gholdengo thanks to Choice Specs Thunderbolt. It's gonna be Palafin and Grimmsnarl. Okay. Part of the question here is whether or not I should just commit my Terra to Roaring Moon right now so that I don't take super effective damage from Grimmsnarl. I'd love to Dragon Dance with Roaring Moon right now. I think it's pretty safe to go for Choice Specs Make It Rain here into Dragon Dance turn 1. Because if you're going for Spirit Break, that means you're not clicking the light screen. If you're not clicking light screen, then obviously Make It Rain is really good. So they're going to bring out Iron Hands. That makes sense. And they set up light screen. Okay. Fine by me. We'll get a Dragon Dance off. So Roaring Moon now is at +1 attack with the booster energy boost as well. Gholdengo will get Choice Specs Make It Rain. I expect Grimmsnarl to survive this. We don't have that much special attack investment. Yeah. But still not bad. I'll take it. They'll probably go for a Reflect now, you would think, right? Yeah, Reflect is pretty safe, but I think I'm happy to just click Make It Rain here and then Protect with the Roaring Moon this turn. To scout out for what Iron Hands wants to go for. Okay, they go for Reflect. Yep, no Fake Out, which is smart. No need for that. Eliminated Grimmsnarl. They've got both screens up, which is pretty hard to stall out, I think. Now, this next turn I can switch Gholdengo out, right? And we'll switch on to Gholdengo. Okay, nice play. Yeah, so you can actually... What's kind of cool about how my opponent played this is now you can bring Iron Hands back out, and you can actually Fake Out into the Roaring Moon slot. Palafin's going to be the one coming in, though. Okay. Yeah, the thing about Palafin is it's like not that scary into Roaring Moon, so yeah, they actually bring out Pelipper instead. Okay, that works for me. Given this, I'm happy to switch Gholdengo out right now. I think we should go into Dondozo. Going to Tatsugiri is too risky, so let's go into Dondozo. I don't really think there's that much of a need to actually Terra Dondozo in this matchup. The downside is if I Terra Roaring Moon, then water type attacks do more damage to me. So I think I'm willing to switch into Dondozo and just Acrobatics into Palafin right now, but not Terra. Because I wouldn't expect the +1 Terra plus booster energy to KO anyway, given that they have Reflect up. Okay, so Dondozo switches in. Acrobatics is over 50, pretty sweet. Palafin goes for Haze, which will get rid of the Roaring Moon's Dragon Dance. And they set up Tailwind. Okay. Could be worse. I think this turn is interesting, right? Do you predict me to, like, switch out and, you know, just click... Do you click Haze with Palafin? We got a big chunk of damage off on a Palafin, which is pretty critical. Wave Crash will do decent damage as well. Because if I can call this turn correctly and essentially knock out Palafin and say switch Roaring Moon out into Tatsugiri, like, it gives me a huge edge, right? But I think this turn I'm going to just double Protect, stall to turn a Tailwind, and see what they want to go for. There's not that much setup either Pokemon can go for at the moment anyway, and it's actually going to be Palafin pivoting out into Iron Hands. Okay. So, yeah, like, the play I was thinking about was just switching Roaring Moon out into Tatsugiri and just Wave Crashing into the Palafin slot. Hurricane, sure, into Dondozo. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because, like, I gotta be a little bit careful about committing a Terra or fusing, right? There's still 2 turns of Tailwind left. I think here I'm happy to switch out into the Gholdengo. And with Roaring Moon, down to just Acrobatics into Pelipper. One thing I contemplated was switching the Roaring Moon into Dondozo into Tatsugiri here, but I don't know. I'm not sure I love combining because then if they just Volt Switch, then they can haze me, which is really bad. Okay, Hurricane gets the Confusion. That's a little scary. Still faster than Iron Hands, which is good to confirm. Don't hit ourselves in Confusion, which is good. Acrobatics breaks a potential Focus Sash. Yep, they end up Volt Switching. Okay. Yeah, so this is interesting, but I think if we can knock out the Pelipper here, then it puts me in a position where you no longer have Tailwind support. Rain is also slowly expiring, and then Dondozo probably can clean up the game. 2 turns of Rain. Last turn of Tailwind. It is dual screens with Light Clay on Grimmsnarl. Yeah, so I think Thunderbolting Pelipper here is really intriguing to me. And then if they end up Wave Crashing, Acrobatics here might just finish off Palafin. So I'm happy to split my damage. They go for Wave Crash. Cool. Yeah, so we don't hit ourselves in confusion. I think Acrobatics should KO the Palafin. And then if Palafin is down, you can't haze me anymore, which is obviously a big deal. There's Hurricane. Nice. We snap out of confusion. Good job, Roaring Moon. Beautiful. Okay, so now Palafin is down. Tailwind Peter's out. I'm thinking going actually straight into... I was going to say Dozo, but... I guess I could click Fake Out into that slot. Even then, though. Okay, let's go into Dondozo now. So they'll bring out the Iron Hands. Last turn of Rain. 3 turns of Reflect. I mean, personally, I would love to just go Wave Crash here into Iron Hands and then switch out into Tatsugiri. They'll probably go for a Fake Out plus a Tailwind here, but I think I'm ready to finally switch in Tatsu here. Because I don't think Roaring Moon's really doing that much to either slot right now. I could have actually contemplated maybe a Dragon Dance there, I think. Into Flying Terra on Pelipper next turn. But I don't know. If my opponent ends up like not clicking Fake Out into Dondozo here and we just get the Wave Crash off, we might just straight up win the game. So let's see if they cover for it. Okay, nicely done. They do correctly Fake Out into that slot. Dozo flinches. They set up Tailwind up. Fine by me. I think right now Rain stops. We've got leftovers. We're slowly stalling out Reflect, which was pretty critical. Double check the field state. 3 turns of Tailwind, 2 turns of Reflect. So I'm happy to protect here. Like, we still haven't Terra'd yet either, right? So, like, having the Terra hidden is really good right now. Especially because I can just order up. Yeah, they go for Hurricane. That's fine. Question is whether or not it's close combat or Wild Charge. It is Wild Charge. Okay. That's fine. Light screen wears off. I'm happy to just go for Terra here then. Order up into... yeah, Iron Hands, and then just Wave Crash it. Protect Wave Crash. Like, the key thing in this matchup was essentially making sure we didn't lose Dondozo stat boost to haze Palafin early, right? Even though Iron Hands is pretty scary because, yes, it can close combat us. I'm still okay with that generally. Hurricane is actually going to miss here, which is nice because it means I don't have to deal with confusion. And Dondozo is just faster than the Iron Hands still. Beautiful. Order up here is going to give me an attack boost. And they end up Wild Charging. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, the key thing about using Dondozo into a Palafin team is just being really careful about how you position it against Palafin, right? That's why I was prioritizing damage on Palafin earlier, but I also wanted to make sure I didn't just use my Terra. Last turn of Tailwind on their end, so I can protect here pretty easily. They still haven't Terra'd yet, right? Could be Grass Terra, Iron Hands. My main question now is whether or not a +3 Wave Crash KOs Pelipper from the range that it's at. If you end up Grass Terraing your Iron Hands, then Acrobatics from Roaring Moon is super effective. So, should be a Terra here, I would expect. Ah, it's actually Pelipper going for the Terra. Flying Terra? Steel Terra, huh. Haven't really seen that many Steel Terra Pelippers. It's interesting. What's the theory behind it? Because electric type attacks will still do neutral at least. You resist steel. You already resist that with Pelipper. And they just end up Drain Punching. Cool. Dondozo heals up. And we have effectively stalled out Tailwind here. So we're at +3 attack. There's no Reflect up anymore. Happy to just go for Wave Crash here onto the Iron Hands. Okay. There's Wave Crash. That's a KO. Beautiful. Yeah, I think the main thing that was scary in this game was Hurricane getting that confusion off onto Roaring Moon. A couple of confusion hits could have been really bad for me, but the key thing here is if you look at my opponent's team, like a lot of the offense comes from the Palafin, and we were able to effectively deal with it fairly quickly, which was really valuable. Like that first acrobatics from Roaring Moon was such a big deal. So yeah, Dragon Dance Roaring Moon is really nice. You know, even with Reflect up on my opponent's end and me not committing a Flying Terra, like I was still able to do over 50% with the acrobatics, which was really nice. So Dondozo is going to get another Wave Crash off, and Pelipper will faint now. Cool. I think part of the question in this matchup is like, you know, can I bring anything else into the matchup? Talonflame feels a little bit iffy to me because it's really weak to the water types. It can Ghost Terra, but I don't think I actually really need Tailwind in this matchup, and it's not that valuable into Grimmsnarl, so that's why I didn't bring it. Fluttermane's decent, right? You can obviously Dazzling Gleam for okay damage, but I think Fluttermane's matchup into like Assault Vest, Iron Hands plus Palafin doesn't really feel that great, and so I feel like the 4 that we brought probably were just the best 4, and honestly, Roaring Moon Gholdengo felt like a really solid lead there, right? Like, it was kind of gave me the ability to get that free Dragon Dance off, and Roaring Moon was able to just deal pretty solid damage even through Reflect. So, yeah. Whoa! Pincurchin, Mimikyu, Iron Hands, Gastrodon, Bronzong, and Baxcalibur. Wait, Pincurchin is so interesting to see here. It's just really not that common, but obviously it does set up Electric Terrain. So they have like double potential Trick Room, so I want to go Fluttermane here, mainly for Imprison. Dondozo is going to be pretty bad into Gastrodon, but we could obviously order up against it. This is a really awkward matchup, honestly. I kind of like Talonflame for Will-O-Wisp and Taunt Pressure as well. Roaring Moon. I don't think I'm going to go Dondozo Tatsu here. I think Gastrodon in itself makes things already really tricky. Because basically the problem with Gastrodon is I can't Wave Crash, right? Meaning I'm stuck clicking Order Up multiple times. Or sorry, yeah, Order Up multiple times in a Gastrodon. And so I'm going to go with like the other mode of this team where you just have a lot of pure offense. And with Covert Cloak on Talonflame, we can like potentially go into Iron Hands and Will-O-Wisp and or Taunt. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty ideal actually. There's so many things we could do here. I don't know if it's Mentor or Mimikyu is the problem. Personally, I think I want to Imprison here and then click Will-O-Wisp onto the Iron Hands. Ideally, they go Fake Out Trick Room here. Nice. Good start. Yeah, if this is Fake Out Trick Room, we are in really good shape. Nice, we don't miss Will-O-Wisp. Good job, Talonflame. Okay, that's huge. Beautiful. That turn could not have played out any better. The scary thing there is if like Iron Hands just decides to go for like an attack, like you could double up on a Fluttermane theoretically offensively, which could be pretty bad for me, but now I'm happy to just Dazzling Gleam and then Will-O-Wisp into Mimikyu. Burning Mimikyu in this matchup is actually a really big deal because it means that it can't deal as much damage with Play Rough potentially onto the Roaring Moon on the back. That also does not look like Assault Vest Iron Hands, so that's good to know. Okay, Talonflame's 2 for 2 on Will-O-Wisp. Thank you very much. Mimikyu is now burnt. They're going to go for Thunder Punch here on the Talonflame. Okay, so they split their damage there, which I'll take. Shadow Sneak onto Fluttermane. I could Fairy Terra here. Yeah, I took 80 earlier, and that was without the burn. Fairy Terra is pretty solid here, right? What else would I Terra? Steel Terra Gholdengo? Yeah, that's decent as well, I guess. But with that burn, I should survive an attack anyway, so I'm happy to just Dazzling Gleam. And Brave Bird. Iron Hand switches, sure. To Baxcalibur, okay. Well, if you don't KO me, Dazzling Gleam ends up being super effective into that. Yeah, we survive. Nice. Beautiful. Brave Bird here. Expect to get the KO. Nice. The main thing to worry about is like Ice Shard from Baxcalibur now onto the Fluttermane slot. Or I guess on a Talonflame. You could bring out Iron Hands, fake out Ice Shard. I honestly want to Ghost Terra Talonflame here just so they don't get fake out and then I get Tailwind up. I think Baxcalibur is going to be slower honestly anyway, so I don't think I actually really need to worry about that. I think I could easily give up both Pokemon here and totally be fine. Yeah, I'll just Dazzling Will-O-Wisp. But yeah, basically, if I had gone for Ghost Terra there, they would not have gotten Fake Out off, allowing Talonflame to get Tailwind up, and then Gholdengo's definitely outspeeding Baxcalibur. But this is max speed Gholdengo, right? Wait, actually, so I would expect to outspeed Baxcalibur here. Yeah. Especially because most Baxcaliburs don't really have that much speed investment. So let's just bring both out. I think the one awkward thing here is deciding what move I want to commit to with the Gholdengo. I think it's better to actually Shadow Ball rather than make it rain here. Gastrodon, Pincurchin. If I were them, I would have brought Gastrodon in the back. That's why I want a Shadow Ball here. Ice Shard should not KO this. So I think it's fine to just go for... If I'm going to Shadow Ball, I should just Terra Roaring Moon here, right? If I Terra, it does make me slightly weaker to Pincurchin, I guess. But I think it's fine to commit the Terra here. We'll Terra, we'll Acrobatics into Baxcalibur, and we'll just Shadow Ball into Iron Hands. Okay, Iron Hands switches. Into Gastrodon. Yep. This was the other thing, by the way. If I actually Terra'd Gholdengo, then if I KO Baxcalibur and I'm Steel Terra, they can bring out the Iron Hands back out and then Fake Out plus Earth Power into it. So Steel Terra there just does nothing for me, right? If I'm not clicking Making Rain, and it doesn't make that much sense to click Making Rain if we think they have the Gastrodon in the back, which they did. Oh, is this a Steel Terra? Okay, it was Fire. Steel would have been really bad. I don't know if... plus, like, Booster Energy, Acrobatics, same type attack bonus around the range that Baxcalibur was at. I'm not sure. Yeah, sure it does a ton, but it's fine. Okay, Bax Feints. Yeah, I guess the idea of that Terra was to resist Make It Rain there, which I think would make sense. But now with Gholdengo having Choice Spec Shadow Ball and being immune to the Fake Out on the opposing side, this should be game over. Yeah. Okay, no recovery from Gastrodon. Let's get to see. Iron Hands comes out. So now I can just go for Protect pretty safely and Shadow Ball into Gastrodon. Roaring Moon protects. There's Fake Out. Yep. Yeah, my main question is if they were Steel Terra and then like they were able to get a one-hit knockout onto the Roaring Moon, I actually think there's a... Like, I probably lose the game from that position, so... I don't know my Roaring Moon, like, booster energy into Baxcalibur calc super well. So now we can just Acrobatics and Shadow Ball. But yeah, I think this early game, like being able to deny Trick Room the way we did made it really hard for my opponent to play the game, right? Because we burnt like both of their physical attackers, managed to position Roaring Moon and Gholdengo out really well. In a best of 3, you can imagine maybe my opponent turn 1 just goes for like Shadow Sneak plus Wild Charge into Fluttermane. If they do that, obviously it's a very, very different game. But In a best of one, without knowing my opponent's full team information, I felt like and without them knowing our team information, I felt like that play was decently safe. But yeah, that game highlighted the value of Covert Cloak as well as the Imprison plus Trick Room, and that's why both of those, exist on this team. Okay, what is this? Iron Moth, Rotom Key, Talonflame, Gastrodon, Great Tusk, and Skeledirge. That's really cool. Well, there's Skeledirge and Gastrodon, so I don't know how I feel about Dondozo Tatsugiri here, honestly. This team is actually feels really difficult to play against, right? Because it's like, normally against fire types, I would just use Dondozo, but they have Gastrodon on the team. So I think we probably prioritize Dragon Dance Roaring Moon. Like, I'm thinking Talonflame Roaring Moon. It's so awkward because it's like, I don't really want to bring Gholdengo into a matchup with all these fire types, but I guess Shadow Ball's still okay. Honestly, on paper, yeah, this matchup looks really tricky. I might actually just bring regular Dondozo here. I could also bring Tatsu for Scarf Icy Wind and Draco Meteor into Gastrodon. It actually might be better to bring out Tatsu. Okay, yeah, so I'm not going to bring both Dondozo and Tatsu here because I think if we combine, like, they can just use Gastrodon fairly easily. Plus, like, Skeledirge with Unaware is decent into Dondozo. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing about this team, right? You have, like, a very strong mode with Dondozo, but you don't necessarily need to rely on it all the time, as that previous game showed. And so, we've already kind of highlighted the flexibility between the two modes, right? Which is nice. So, let's see. Talonflame and Iron Moth, okay. I'm mainly worried about okay, so first of all, no booster energy from there, and I'm worried about what, like Will-O-Wisp? This doesn't scare me that much for now. Pretty easy to just trade Tailwinds. I really want to Tailwind Dragon Dance here, honestly. Let's see, with Talonflame here, we are max speed. I'll Tailwind Dragon Dance. It is a little bit risky because maybe their Talonflame clicks Will-O-Wisp, so Iron Moth switches to start into Rotom. That makes sense, but I can Throat Chop that now. Okay, so we Tailwind. Make me really happy if they just click Tailwind here as well. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm probably getting hit by Will-O-Wisp here. Yep, nicely done. That was a little bit risky on my end. I figured it, like, the payoff would have been huge if I had gotten off, and even right now, it's not that bad, honestly. Because now I can just Brave Bird your Talonflame, so you can't set up Tailwind. And Acrobatics it. It could be a lot worse. Oh, they actually have Protect, though. Oh, okay. Will-O-Wisp and Protect. Tailwind, so you're not running... Yeah, it's probably our moveset, but just with Protect over Taunt. That makes sense. Really nicely done. Because the thing is, now they can Tailwind. And it's Discharge as well. Wow. Okay. My opponent's played this perfectly so far. Really well done. Yeah, so now obviously this can Tailwind. Man, they stagger their Tailwind really well. I think I'll still go for the knockout here onto Talonflame. Yeah. And that's exactly why you would want to run Protect on Talonflame. Now, a lot of Talonflame sets don't carry Protect, so if they didn't have Protect there last turn, I would have been in really good shape, I think. Like, Acrobatics still does so much damage, even with the burn. So, we'll knock out Talonflame. The problem for me is that, like, they have staggered Tailwind by 2 turns, which makes things kind of tricky for me. However, I do have Choice Scarf Tatsugiri with that Icy Wind, which is pretty valuable. Put Thunderbolt into Talonflame, sure. So, it's probably Gastrodon as their 4th, right? I think I'll go into Tatsugiri here first to bait the Gastrodon switch in. Because Tatsu will be pretty good into Iron Moth and Rotom Heat. This is a tricky game, though. Yeah, my opponent played turn 1 and 2 perfectly. It's one of those where they were just kind of one step ahead. Okay. Moth comes back out. Last turn of Tailwind on my end. They have 3 turns to work with. I expect Gastron in the back right now. I honestly want to go for a second Dragon Dance with Roaring Moon. I just really don't want to give Gastron special attack boost right now is my main concern. But I don't know really what to click here. I'm going to double up on a Rotom. Draco Throat Chop. Oh, they didn't switch into Gastrodon. Wow. Okay, well, if you're not Assault Vest, I would expect this to KO. Oh, it has 1 HP. Oh, I probably... And they had Dazzling Gleam on the... What? Dazzling Gleam Iron Moth. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this is one where my opponent just had a lot of surprises. I think that was Assault Vest Rotom if you had Discharge and you took Draco Meteor like that. That's probably game over then. I don't think Fluttermane can pull off the comeback, especially because they staggered Tailwind. It's a really fast-paced game. Even if I had gotten that knockout, I lose because it's Dazzling Gleam, Iron Moth. I honestly didn't even really think about the fact that it could use Dazzling Gleam because that's just such a rare move on that set. Man, that actually causes so many more problems for me. If I had clicked Muddy Water plus Acrobatics into Moth, maybe there was a chance, but yeah, I really thought Gastron would be switching in there. Gleam on that is fascinating to me. Yeah, Fluttermane does survive with 3, but yeah, obviously we can't really mount the comeback from this point. So pretty fast-paced. If Gastron weren't their last one, they're a genius. Because I totally could have gone Dondozo then. It might be Skeledirge, actually. Yeah, that's not Gastron, is it? It's Skeledirge. That makes sense, though. That would have been their Dondozo answer. But they brought Quad Fire into a Dondozo matchup. Really well done. But that's good team building, right? In the sense that, of course, I'm a little bit less incentivized to go with my Water-type Pokemon because they have a Gastron in Team Preview. Skeledirge Terras into Grass. Yeah, I think the main thing in this is that Roaring Moon's honestly really good. If I had gone Protect plus Taunt on turn 1 of this game, I would have been in really good shape. But basically, I was worried about them just clicking Tailwind, right? Yeah, I was worried about them clicking Tailwind with Talonflame. I Taunt into them. But I suppose because, yeah, it would have been better to Protect Taunt. I guess they did end up switching to Rotom, though. So then turn 2, they would have been able to just Thunderbolt. But then, Roaring Moon would have been in decent shape. So then what I could have done on turn 2 after taunting would have been to go for Terra Ghost to survive, get my own Tailwind up with Talonflame, and then Dragon Dance with Roaring Moon. So that's how I'd play the first 2 turns if I could replay that. Because I actually think that line of play is a lot safer than I initially had gave it credit for. But in my head, I was like, oh, if they set up Tailwind first, that's really bad for me. I guess part of the problem is they theoretically could... No, if I'm taunting them, they can't taunt me in return. So, yeah, I think going for taunt straight up on Talonflame turn 1 would have been better. One, I was expecting to not have Protect since a lot of Talonflames are dropping Protect these days. So the fact they were able to Protect and then get Tailwind up 2 turns after me was really huge for them. And then 2, they obviously had this very surprise set with the Iron Moth with Dazzling Gleam, which I thought was really interesting. So, yeah, and in the end, they did not bring the Gastrodon, but Grass Terra Skeledirge with Unaware is also a pretty fine counter into Dondozo. So that's why I felt uncomfortable about Dozo in the matchup. Okay, there's another Skeledirge here. Tinkaton, Roaring Moon, King Gambit, Tusk, and the Gholdengo. Their team is pretty physically oriented. I think this is a Talonflame Roaring Moon game again. We very easily could go with either mode here, with Gholdengo Flutter or Dozo Tatsugiri. My main concern about Dozo Tatsu is once again the Unaware Skeledirge on the opposing side, in which I think Specs Gholdengo and Fluttermane would just be able to do a lot more. But it does make me a little King Gambit weak if I go with those 4, so King Gambit makes me incentivized to go with Dozo Tatsu. But yeah, I think Talonflame plus the Roaring Moon here is a pretty good lead, especially with Covert Cloak on the Talonflame. Don't have to worry about Fake Out from Tinkaton. And Will-O-Wisp is really good into 4 of their 6 Pokemon. Now, if they haven't seen this team, like, they won't know about the fact that Talonflame actually doesn't have Flare Blitz, right? So I think, like, because you'd want to respect Flare Blitz normally, you might not lead Gholdengo, but we actually don't have Blitz here on Talonflame. But they actually go with Gholdengo anyway. Okay. Get on Gholdengo. I don't know. I'm happy to click Will-O-Wisp here into Tinkaton. And I think I want to protect here, but I'm a little bit worried about Gholdengo just clicking, like, Nasty Plot here. That'd be so risky, though. Alright, I'll go for a Will-O-Wisp and protect. I think this is where if I had Flare Blitz with Talonflame, I'd actually be willing to straight up click Flare Blitz into Gholdengo on turn 1. Roaring Moon protects. Gholdengo protecting here would make me really happy. Okay, nice. That's huge. They actually end up clicking. So Dragon Dance would have worked there, but Covert Cloak comes up huge for us once again. Nice. Okay. I guess with Talonflame I could set up Tailwind. Taunt, Brave Bird. Honestly, I think it's probably best to just Brave Bird Gholdengo and Throat Chop it here. Yeah, they switch. Into their own Roaring Moon. Sure. Just their own booster energy. Okay. Attack as well. Pretty solid damage from Brave Bird. Just Throat Chop. Ooh, close to getting the KO with the double up there. Play Rough does a little bit more than I would have liked there. And gets an attack drop, so that's less than ideal, but it's okay. I think it's probably worth conserving Roaring Moon here, honestly. So I'm down to go for Tailwind. Or should I just go Brave Bird here instead? I don't know. You can expect the Roaring Moon to protect here, right? But I guess if I switch Roaring Moon out into Dozo and they hit that slot, it's really bad. So I think it's better to still click Brave Bird into that slot and then get Dozo in safely. Then I can Tailwind Substitute next turn. Maybe I should have just gone Flying Terra with Roaring Moon. Because Roaring Moon is just so good offensively into my opponent's team. Yeah, Moon did protect, but that's fine. Because, like, a burnt Tinkaton into Dondozo isn't really that scary. Yeah, I went for Gigaton Hammer, sure. Yeah, that did nothing. And now it means I can get Substitute up, which is a really big deal with Dondozo. The main thing is, like, Tinkaton just doesn't really do anything into Talonflame right now, which is a big deal. So I'm happy to Brave Bird into Roaring Moon and set up Substitute right now. And then we could just contemplate potentially switching in the Tatsugiri, but we don't necessarily need to right now. Tinkaton actually reveals as Protect. Interesting. So Fake Out, Gigaton Hammer, Play Rough, and Protect as his moveset. But this works out brilliantly. Roaring Moon faints. Dondozo gets Substitute up. We're up 4-3 with the burnt Tinkaton on the opposing side. So far, not too bad. It's mainly, once again, the potential Skeledirge in the back. But the interesting thing is, if you bring out Skeledirge, I can actually taunt it with Talonflame, which is a pretty big deal, right? Okay. If it's Golden... I don't know. It's pretty risky to go back into Gholdengo because I haven't really revealed the full moveset. Yeah, it's Skeledirge. That's fine. I'm going to taunt Skeledirge here. Could be Fairy Terra. I'm happy to just taunt and Wave Crash into it, I think. Because Tinkaton does nothing for my opponent right now. So they switch out into Gholdengo. I think it makes sense. I think you have to Terra here, right? Ah, actually, they just went for Protect. That makes sense as well. Okay, the game is actually getting a little scary with them getting that free switch in. I wonder if I could have won if I had just switched in Tatsu and, like, nuked the Gholdengo slot. Protect, Slack Off, Torch Song, Shadow Ball. So you know I have Taunt now. I don't know who's gonna Terra here. Like, I kind of want to just switch in Tatsu and Wave Crash, but I feel like doing that before taunting Skeledirge is not a good idea, so... I can taunt that and then Wave Crash into Gholdengo. Here's the Terra finally, yeah. I was hoping to see that last turn. Yep, it is on Skeledirge. And it's Fairy. Yeah, Fairy Skeledirge, not that easy to deal with what we have here. If I had Gholdengo in the back, that would have made my life a lot easier. They're going to just go for Thunderbolt here into Dondozo, okay. So it's Protect, Thunderbolt, Gholdengo, huh. That's interesting in itself. With Life Orb, wow. And they go for Shadow Ball, okay. I'll go for Wave Crash into Gholdengo. Decent damage. You're now taunted with Skeledirge. Ideally, we want to knock out Skeledirge here. So I think here I'm happy to Brave Bird into that slot. And then Protect with Dondozo. Yeah, it's pretty good damage. Man, Life Orb, Thunderbolt, Gholdengo. So it's not Nasty Plot. It's probably just triple offense plus Protect, right? They end up doubling into Dondozo. Okay. If you're going to do that, I kind of want to just switch in Tatsugiri here. And then Wave Crash into Skeledirge. I could get the knockout on a Gholdengo. Then they would Shadow Ball me probably for a KO. It's the last turn of Taunt. I'll target Gholdengo. I'm actually pretty worried about how I'm beating Skeledirge, though. If it has Slack Off. If it doesn't have Slack Off, it's honestly fine, I think, but... I feel like I'm playing Series 1 right now. Okay, get our boosts. No Protect, so we'll KO Gholdengo here. That's out of the way. But I think between Recoil and Shadow Ball here, it should be a KO. I don't know, actually. If we survive, that's a huge deal. Let's see. Nah, it is enough for a KO. Okay. That's fine, though. I think just getting that Gholdengo out of the way is not bad. Taunt wears off. It's free switching into Covert Cloak Talonflame for me. If I bring out Roaring Moon, they could like double up onto Tatsu. Kind of feel like I need to go Talonflame right now. How do I KO Tinkaton now, though? I haven't Terra'd yet, by the way, either. So the question is whether or not I want to commit Flying Terra to Roaring Moon. Because Muddy Water, we're going to click here. They should probably fake out Tatsugiri. So, like, the debate is, like, I could Water Terra Tatsu. I actually think that's the play here. Water Terra and Taunt into Skeledirge. What a game. What a game. You can see why Skeledirge is a pretty interesting answer into Dondozo, though, right? Just curious about the rest of its moves. Yeah, so there's Fake Out into Tatsu. We'll flinch. I just want to make sure this thing does not get to heal up from a Slack Off, which is why I keep taunting it. And they go for Terra Blast. Okay. Yep, we survived that. Nice. Okay, go for Muddy Water here. Man, I wonder if Muddy Water Brave Bird does enough. Tinkaton protects. Okay, wait, that in itself is huge. I think, I guess they're just going for the knockout, though, onto Tatsu, which would make sense, right? Okay. Oh, that was really good damage. Are you Citrus Berry? No. I think Brave Bird KOs here, then. Whew. Nice. Well, this was a game where we had to be very resourceful and, yeah, use the Terra there just to survive the Terra Blast from Skeledirge. I feel like it didn't need to be this close, but they had, like, Life Orb Thunderbolt on Gholdengo, which made things trickier, and Tinkaton was actually fairly annoying, but now I can Muddy Water. I could still lose off missing, I suppose, right? But it's going to be kind of hard for a burnt Tinkaton to clear 1v3, but I do miss. Oh, boy. I think it's fine. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, obviously if we hit, the game's just over, but that adds some drama to the game. Oh, Tatsugiri survives anyway, though. Nice job. I mean, that's the thing. Tinkaton's attack just isn't really that great. There's not really much I can do other than play for the accuracy. Like, I'm not going to use the other moves anyway. Okay, Tatsu hits now. Nice. But you can see how a defensive Tatsugiri Terra here... I mean, it was both defensive and offensive, right? Because we did more damage with Muddy Water as well. But the idea behind Terraing it was so that I could not get knocked out by Tinkaton nor Skeledirge, which is a really big deal. But in the end, the Skeledirge set was actually a little bit more offensive. Like, it was Protect, Shadow Ball, Terra Blast, and probably Torch Song as its last move. So it wasn't like the kind of classic Slack Off set that I was expecting to see. And for that reason, I didn't actually need to like commit as many taunts as I did onto it. But in a best of one without knowing it set, I felt okay doing that. I think one thing that was big in this game was my opponent like switching in that Roaring Moon and the Roaring Moon like not fainting there. Because I ended up clicking Throat Chop. But it made sense, right? Because I wanted to cover for Gholdengo staying in that position. And when I see Protect Gholdengo in this format, I expect like not Life Orb, Leftovers, Water Terra, Nasty Plot. And I really did not want Gholdengo to get a free Nasty Plot off in that matchup. So yeah, but I'm glad to feature like a game where we can showcase how you don't necessarily need both Dondozo or Tatsugiri. Like the individual pieces can still be fairly strong, right? So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for watching. Huge thank you and congratulations to Kiki for, of course, winning OCIC in the juniors division. And I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.